when the sons of Skyrim would spill their own blood. But no one wanted to believe they even existed. And when the truth finally dawns, it dawns in fire. But there's one they fear. In their tongue, he is olfactory, dragonborn.
You might think this is Skyrim, but it's actually not. First Person mod gives you an entire brand new experience to Elden Ring. It feels like my first time playing the same game all over again, which is extremely hard and totally not a good experience. But it's still interesting nonetheless. I also used the Randomizer mod on this playthrough to make this one more challenging, or probably easier if I was lucky enough. That's just me. But there are some parameters that I didn't change, such as key items, golden seeds, and sacred tears. Weapons and bosses are completely randomized, so I need to fight them with what I have. All the mod links are in the descriptions, feel free to check them out. And also, before we start, this video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Hey you, I know where you live, and I saw your search history.
Wait, what? Who are you?
How you ask? That's because your internet is not protected, ma'am. But I'm here to give you a solution. ExpressVPN reroutes 100% of your network traffic to their secure and encrypted server. This prevents your data from getting stolen by those with malicious intent. It's very easy, just one click and there you go. Your email, your bank accounts, your search history are now protected.
Oh, okay, but that's not what I'm asking and—
Not convinced yet, huh? ExpressVPN also allows you to change your location whenever you want within 94 countries and still counting. Me personally, I like watching anime, but Netflix doesn't allow me to watch Spirited Away in the US, which is very cringe. But if you have ExpressVPN, just change the location to UK and boom, I can watch it now.
Hello, police? A guy tried—
Hold on ma'am, hear me out. ExpressVPN is one of the top VPN services in the world, and if you don't believe me, well, you should. It's written all over the internet. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for ExpressVPN now by clicking link in the description and you will get 3 months free. That's a special deal. You better get it fast. Alright, let's get back to the video. As you can see, every starter class has different loadouts than they should be. I was thinking on getting one that has the most suitable weapons for me, despite the build. I ended up choosing Prisoner just because it has Saint Trina's sword that might be useful on this run, maybe. Honestly, this is harder than I expected. I died a lot by these random mobs because adjusting the range was quite difficult. First boss is Watchdog of Godric. If this is Soldier of Godric's real path, it would take me more than 10 times to beat it, but I was lucky enough to kill it under 30 minutes. Oh god. Yeah, I'm still adapting with the fight because dodging feels a bit different, and with limited vision, it's hard to pivot enemies' attack by running. Deathbird or something. Is that Malekith? Holy shit, it is Malekith. Oh, fuck. I tried to gather as many items as I could get for preparations, and I was lucky enough to stumble upon certain weapon. Checking to see if key items didn't get randomized, and they didn't. Apparently key item didn't get randomized. This also applies to bell bearings as well, but not the merchants. They sell random goodies. Right, so I know I didn't change my loadout at all, but I want to see the first boss. Well, something I didn't expect. I thought I only randomized the order of main bosses, but apparently other bosses got scrambled as well. I never had any problem fighting this guy before, but this time I got my ass kicked multiple times. So I got Saint Trina's sword and Albinoric staff with Glintstone arc as the spell. While the spell has quite some distance, but I have to aim manually to use the spell. I think the sword is more effective in terms of damage and recovery time, but I don't think they are enough to beat the Ancestor Spirit. I think I got motion sickness in this fight, so I decided to pull out and look for something else. Not a little, it's actually a lot of... I went to caves or maybe some small dungeon to see if I can acquire something useful, but the boss inside was quite ruthless. I feel like I would encounter a lot more bosses that I almost never fight in regular playthrough. It's tough, so I decided to go to Kaelid. Black Blade Godfrey. Oh god. No! Okay. Is it Malekith? It is Malekith. What the fuck? Alright, maybe I shouldn't go to Kaelid. I wanna see patches instead. But before that, I have to beat Vike, which I'm probably not capable to do so if Yura wasn't there to aid me. Oh, thank god. Yo, anyway guys, thank you so much for the raid though. He gave me nothing. So after reconsidering, I decided to go back to Ancestral Spirit. I forgot to turn on my timer after all this time, but I spent around an hour before it turned on. This time, I used Godric Soldier Ashes I found before, and also power stands my Saint Trina with a regular longsword. My soldiers are definitely gonna be dead soon enough, so I have to maximize this opportunity to cut as much HP as I can. Sometimes it can be a bit frustrating since the deer was quite tall, it made me miss my attacks. Usually, I don't really mind getting hit once or twice, but when playing on first person, whenever I get hit, it feels like going through a quick time event and it really messed up my vision after getting up. No way. Oh yes! I was planning on getting some stuffs in Kaelid, but I think I can get more stuffs in Stormvale Castle instead. Okay, that's the wrong one I think. No ballistas. I hope. Serpent boat, epic. Oh wait, no ballistas. That's nice. There's a deer. What is that? Like anything. Oh, it's just useful. I got a bunch of new stuffs, but they're not usable for now, so I went to the boss arena with the same loadout. I thought it was Niall, but it's O'Neill instead. And yeah, O'Neill is nothing without his infinite summons. Eventually, I have to go back and visit the Roundtable Hall. They sell some good stuffs here, and I took Erdtree Favor as my first talisman to boost my stats, since I barely found any talismans so far. I'm looking for specific items that can help me beat O'Neill, so I was expecting something long and hard, like a Great Bow for example. Hallmark Seal, okay, we got Seal over there. Order of his Great Sword, Sacred Relic Sword, okay. I tried to complete Raya's quest as usual, but because almost every NPC's wares has been randomized, Bogart doesn't sell the necklace this time. Yo, look at that Bogart with that drip, man. I also got X Talisman to boost charge attacks, but I barely use charge attacks in general, but I'll take it for now. Since most of the bell bearings are not randomized, I went to the tunnel in Liurnia to get Smithing Stone bell bearing. This will come in handy when I got some good weapons, but looking at the boss in the area, I definitely need to get good. I tried to find something else to kill, but things were just too hard for me. Fuck. I'm dead. I'm survived. So finally, I left with my last solution. Farming runes using the giant ball. I don't recall the name of the creators. Yep, I just got enough stats to use the Death's Poker. Going back to O'Neill, and I was just a bit curious on the NPC's loadout, so I summoned Nepheli for this battle. Well, actually they have the same weapons, just different armor, and having NPC summon was erasing the challenge for this battle, so next time, I would prefer using Spirit Ashes if I have to. Okay, you know what? Maybe having Nepheli was just too easy. Oh, what? They didn't get the spawn? Having that poker probably my luckiest gamble in this playthrough because it helped me overcome the certain bosses until I found another good stuffs along the way. Before getting the second great rune, I need to secure my rune farming location in Mogwyn, but apparently Ver didn't give the festering finger like he usually did, so completing his quest is almost impossible. Well, unless you found a merchant that sells those things, which I found one in Altus Plateau. The 3, I think. Okay, easier than I expected. An arc and for collecting the remedy, alright. True though, splitting stones. While in Mogwyn, I also got some very useful items that I definitely use for the future. Great sword, that's my favorite weapon. Oh, Finlay. Oh, everyone's getting ready. No, not the spider. Also, while I'm here, I want to see what Moog turned into, and yeah, I prefer the original Moog. Look at... I'm going back to Raya Lucaria, and I was already expecting to fight 2 bosses in order to acquire the second Great Rune. Along the way, I got the Great Jar Arsenal that massively increased my equip load. This is a very useful talisman if I want to be tanky. Next boss is a Falling Star Beast. And no surprise, I got no chance with this guy. Not only in first person, but even on regular playthrough. I only beat this guy once in my entire life, I think. So let's say the fight was very hard. Not only that, but I have to avoid a rune bear every time I died in order to reach the boss arena. I always got that one. Honestly, it's not worth it. I'm going for Rodan instead. Yo, what's up, Simon? I don't even know who I'm gonna fight, but at least his arena is big enough for me to run around, so I think it's more convenient. Well, yeah, a tree spirit is definitely better than a Falling Star Beast in my opinion. But it actually gave a bit of challenge as well. No! Thanks to the Dad's Poker, I could maintain my range, and the tree spirit somehow couldn't go too far from its original spot. Maybe because the boss was designed for a smaller arena compared to this. It will despawn if I went too far. Fighting in close range would be a nightmare in first person, so I'm glad I had this advantage. That's right. Give me some time, please. No! Fucking stupid! We made it, guys. We got Rodan's Great Rune and Briars of Punishment. Before I continue to Lindell, I think it's necessary to be the Zamor hero for the bell bearing, so I went back to Raya Lucaria Tunnel. I never had any problem with the Zamor hero, even though I only fought them like 2 or 3 times, I guess, but I was struggling this time. I found using regular jump attack would be more effective since it can stagger him, but dodging him would be problematic, and I realized I couldn't dodge his double slash for some reason. Oh, nice. I gotta do that more often. My only opening is when he's casually walking around. As soon as he turns aggressive, I have to dodge. Oh, I think I see the opening over there. Okay, nice. With that, I get the first Smithing Stone Bell Bearing and continue my journey to Altus Plateau to get the second one. Open up. Okay, Bell Bearing, epic. I'll say having random enemy encounter can be a curse, but sometimes a blessing like this might happen. Alright, for the next boss I'm using God's Greatsword, which is one of my favorite colossal weapons. After a few hours I finally met someone familiar. Give me human queen stuff. And it's not Godric, but the draconic Godfroy. Well yeah, I was wrong. I thought it was Godric. But Godfroy is just the easier version of Godric. It's Godric! I don't know why I feel so happy winning him. Nothing much happened with the fight, to be honest. The same dodging method with Godric can be applied. My vision didn't get limited and adjusting range was quite easy for me. I'm getting greedy now. Basically, out of every fight I had previously, this might be the easiest. Okay, what are we saying? English, flaming bolt? Yes, everything seems to be very normal here, and since I only encounter dungeon bosses most of the time, I thought this time I should meet someone more interesting. High page clothes. Dude. I mean, first round was... Royal Knight armor. Trust me, you're not curious? Alright. So, Fire Giant, the first Elden Lord. More like Fire Giant, second phase. Well, since I used a good weapon against Fire Giant, this should be easy. Well, it should be, but apparently it's not that easy. Yes, of course. Usually I fight Fire Giant while riding Torrent, so maintaining my range was not a problem. But in this case, I have to dodge most of his attacks manually, and sometimes I couldn't adjust my timing, especially when he does the fire attacks. Also, this room was too small for the two of us and he invaded my personal space a few times. But there is also a good side of this situation. Since I was always close to him, whenever he slams the ground, I was able to attack his hands much more easier. That gave me more damage rather than attacking his leg. Now the fight wasn't as smooth as I expected and surely took a good minute. But I finally beat him, in first person. Position. Oh god, no. How did I still got hit? Usually, I already have a proper build for Morgoth, but I think it's better to take a peek inside before deciding to power up. Is it just me, or this looks like really beautiful right now? Alright, I'll start gathering stuff after this fight. So because I haven't beat a single main boss in this entire playthrough, except for Fire Giant, I went back to Kaylee to beat at least one of the notable main boss. We have the Golden Godfrey in front of the Bestial Sanctum and I thought he would be easy to kill since I already on 50% progression, but damn bro, he's solid. Actually, the problem was on me since my field of view was very limited, especially after rolling, making my accuracy less accurate than it should be. Maybe same thing can be said with Malekith as well. I decided to set my foot on the mountain tops, hoping to get better stuffs there since I couldn't beat those bosses. Also, I infused Chilling Mist to my greatsword along the way. I honestly cannot remember where I get the Chilling Mist, but anyway, yeah, I also beat Vike inside the Everjail. Oh, thank you. Oh, alright. Videos like this. I mean, if I'm planning on making videos like this, then yeah. Oh, her health actually did not regenerate. I like this. We're moving to fight Fire Giant, but not the real Fire Giant. It's a Fire Dragonkin soldier with Ice Lightning, I suspect. This making no sense, but here it is. I almost never fight a Dragonkin soldier, but as far as I know, it's not really a big threat if I can get behind its back. But I keep standing in front of him instead. Now that's done, I didn't expect the second one falling from the sky. Wait, second phase? What the f- The second Dragonkin soldier has the ability to fly, and using the Ice Lightning, which can be very dangerous if you got hit. Ah, yeah, you gotta run. But dodging those things are quite easy. Ah, dude, I always got hit on that one. There we go. Nah, bro, we don't need. Next, we'll be reaching for Missoula. Apparently, the cutscenes took longer this time. Going on. I don't do anything. Oh, there we go. I know I don't really have any more useful talismans in my inventory, but I got this Godskin Swaddling Cloth. It restores HP from successive attacks. Honestly, I never used these talismans before, but looking at the descriptions, it can be useful. Looking at my inventory again, I do have some good weapons. It's just waiting to be used for the right boss. I just thought that this boss that is supposed to be Godskin Duo will force me to switch to different weapon. Well, it's Godskin Gideon Ofnir. The two worst things in the game combined to a whole abomination. And he's wearing the Godskin armor as well, look at that. So it's time. I bought some good weapons from the merchant back then, and I think Gideon should be bathed with gold by the Sacred Relic Sword. It's just, I need more faith to use this weapon. I went back again to Khalid hoping this time I can get some useful additional stuff. And for the last time I used my greatsword to slay either Godfrey or Malekith. But Malekith seems to be a better choice this time. Not really actually, but at least his recovery time is enough for me to keep my attention back to him. So usually, Destined Death is my only opening, but this Malekith is different. Yeah, he can fake the Destined Death, and it happens almost every time. So I found a new opening similar to the Destined Death, but his recovery time was much faster. My damage was big enough to kill him pretty fast, but calibrating my distance with him was a bit hard. Once you get knocked down, it's very hard to adjust your movement, especially while avoiding his next attacks. The fight took some time, and I died quite a lot this time, but I beat Malekith at the end. I can't imagine using bad weapons while in first person. Probably feels like hell. Nice, I dodged that Destined Death. Oh, yeah, dude! An hour, I think. Ivory Shickle and Shield Bash. Alright, I know I said that was my last time using the greatsword, but this time it's the last of the last, because I found the bell-bearing tree sentinel while strolling around at midnight. As long as I could keep my eyes on him, dodging his attacks wouldn't be a problem. But I miscalculated a few times, and that's why I got hit a lot. What the hell? I almost beat him, but I failed. Oh no! And the rest of my attempts were just failures. So I think it's better to move on, back on the main bosses. I remember looking for specific somber stones at this moment, but I couldn't find any random drops. But I got the Ancient Dragon Lightning along the way. Since it appears I wasn't lucky enough to stumble upon the somber stones in the open world, it's better to get the bell bearing instead inside the Altus tunnel. Oh, what the fuck? Oh. So I got everything for Gideon and I'm going back to Missoula. There is a huge benefit on using a slow velocity weapons, especially the one with a very wide range like the Wave of Gold. Gideon is really good at dodging singular projectiles, but in this case, he'll be dead in a second. It's not even a challenge. Whoa, that is not good, that is not good. Oh god, please no. After beating Gideon, I just want to check if he still appears in the round table hole.
You. What is it?
I didn't know what comes next, but I really want to use the Ancient Lightning Strike because I never used this spell in my entire time playing Elden Ring. I missed! Testing this spell on the bootleg Tree Sentinel and it worked okay, I guess. That is a total clown, man. Take that, bro. Inside Malik's arena, looking from afar, I know exactly what that is. A weak, almost immobile TBM arena. But the first time I cast the Ancient Lightning, it seems to be a bit hard to aim. Therefore, most of my attacks are missed. Bye. Hey, no worries man, thank you so much. Later on, I found a sweet spot to cast. If I keep close to the boat, I can deal a good amount of damage on her, but I have to be wary when she starts to take some offense. TBM Marina herself wasn't an obstacle at all, but she applied the same procedure as the Dragonkin soldier, so she definitely has a second phase with a different opponent. Cavalry, the Black Blade. The name somehow sounds fitting. Even without Malekith's power, this guy was giving me a hard time. Oh my god! Fuck. I barely damage him with the Ancient Lightning since he's always moving, and the lightning can be easily dodged if cast in distance. The only time I can hit him is when I cast a spell really close to him, but usually I get hit after that. Not really worth it. This happened quite a while and I decided to change my weapon. I know Ancient Lightning was kinda cool, but I'll use melee weapon for this boss fight. Mikla Knight Sword, the weapon that I never know exists in the game. Its Astropore creates holy damage, which is coincidentally useful against TBM Mariner. And for the Knight Cavalry, I'll utilize it as a regular melee weapon. This seriously made the fight a lot easier, but I think I was underestimating the whole situation. First person really did me dirty by testing my aim, and because I mostly damaged his horse instead, the fight took a bit longer, but I still beat him at the end. I got hit multiple times, but at least I could avoid most of his big blows. I feel like, so far, even for the side bosses, they are pretty challenging to fight. Well, those except the mirror and the flower, obviously. Okay, since the next boss is supposed to be replacing Gideon, I still want to use the Ancient Lightning to beat at least one boss. Guardian Golem is a very easy opponent that I am confident enough to turn a blind eye, but this guy over here, he can breathe fire. The Ancient Lightning does very little damage on him when it didn't hit him in the right spot. I was having trouble at first because it shared a similar situation with the Knight Cavalry. After a few tries, I got used to his moves and I found the only time I can deal massive damage. It involves the fire breathing, of course. This iconic move was also his weak point. I need to trigger that move more often because it can somehow broke his poise and I could cast 2 times after that. We're getting close, and for the next boss, I want to use this horrible spell, Briar of Punishment. It's actually a better version of Briar of Sin because of the range, but it's still a horrible spell. Now, there will be 2 bosses in this supposedly godfrey fight, and the first one is the Omen Killer, first Elden Lord. I would say using Briar of Punishment is a good decision for this fight, because using melee weapon might block most of my vision, and the Omen Killer himself is pretty aggressive, making me difficult to roll. I still died a lot adjusting my distance with him. The best way to do this is by staying away from him and cast a spell whenever he starts walking casually. This spell has a really long range. Second part of the fight is the Falling Star Beast. Again. Bro, like this time, I cannot get away from it. Honestly, this was too much for me, so I decided to find another weapon worthy enough to kill it. I went underground to knock around looking and scavenging anything I found, but so far, I didn't find anything remotely useful. Yeah, also this is my last time using the Great Sword. Fighting Tricia and Misbegotten didn't take too long, and I found triple ring of light as well. Also, I went for Rani, so I beat Renala in Loretta's arena. It's weirdly fitting inside the arena apparently. I met Rani and fought her overprotective stepdad. The fight was surprisingly manageable. It still allows me to maintain my vision and land some roll attacks most of the time. But this was probably because we fought on the location that didn't favor him. I forgot, on the original game we cannot beat a doula in this location at the time, so this also happened with Godfrey as well. He just vanished. Alright, we're back on the Omen Killer and the Falling Star Beast, but this time with different armaments. So I'm still using Briar of Punishments for the Omen Killer, but when the Falling Star Beast appeared, I summoned Finlay and used Gideon's triple ring incantation. Finlay was only +4 because it's kinda hard to find the Glow Fort, and the triple ring of light doesn't really do the job like I imagined. The damage wasn't too significant, and usually I only got 2 hits by casting the spell once. It didn't work as intended, so I switched to Triple Ring of Light with Serpent Bone Blade. A katana as melee weapon should work, and also hoping to inflict poison as well during contact. For some reason, I couldn't inflict poison to this guy, even though Factual Life didn't state its immunity to poison. The damage was quite decent for a regular playthrough, but in first person, I don't think I can endure this fight long enough to kill it. Falling Star Beast is ruthless, man, and I don't think Serpent Bone worked for me. So I changed my weapon to Beast Claw Great Hammer, that I didn't realize I got it at the beginning of this playthrough. It has a unique Asher 4 called Regal Beast Claw that works almost identical with Godfrey's Ground Rupture. Combined with summoning Finlay, I think I got it this time. Since the damage from the hammer was quite a lot, I can land multiple hits when Finlay took his attention. Dodging his attacks are far more easier, probably because the arena was pretty big compared to the one in Raya Lucaria. I broke his poise a few times from jump attacks, but using the Asher 4 might be a little too comfortable for me. And it dropped the Dragon Halberd, so I'm gonna use that weapon. For the next boss, the final one, I think I'm gonna go all out with the Dragon Halberd, expecting the enemy would be somehow intimidating. But I was wrong apparently. If I'm not mistaken, I remember we can fight 2 of these guys with different names, but because I fought the first one as my first boss, this one was pretty easy. I really like the Ash of War that can inflict frostbite, so whenever I get a chance, I'll spinning slash the hell out of this moose. Second boss coming out from the ocean of gold that is supposed to be the Elden Beast, but it's Loretta instead. Now I really want to compare this fight with the 3 Sentinel and the Knight Cavalry, because, you know, they all the horseback knight, but Loretta is the inferior version of the 3. Dodging her moves is not hard, opening was very wide, and because Dragon Halberd doesn't really have long recovery time, I just usually spam jump attacks. Well, that's everything. I hope you guys are capable of watching this video without vomiting because of motion sickness, but anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this random run, and if you do, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, special thanks to those who support this channel financially. I really appreciate you guys. Right, that's it from me. See ya.
Hey you finally awake.